and welcome. It's a Chocolate Bock Vista for you on the fourth stage of the Tour de Suisse 2017. We're heading from Bern to Villars-sur-Olon. It's relatively short, 150.2 kilometres for the riders, but we're into the mountains for the first time in Tour de Suisse 2017. Michael Matthews, can he hang on to this lead? It's going to be a bit of a slim chance for him. Tom Dumoulin sitting second overall, his teammate at 10 seconds. Peter Sagan just a further second back, and all those riders bested by Matthews on a wonderful stage 3 finish in Bern yesterday evening. Caruso Albacini will fancy their chances today. Can they hang on the first mountain summit of the race? They're the jersey wearers, the jersey holders at least. Michael Matthews owns the overall lead, points as well, but that'll be worn by the man sitting second in the classification. Lasse Norman Hansen is leading the mountains, and Michael Albacini is the leader of the Swiss rider classification. Into Bern yesterday, presented in perfect fashion by Nikias Arndt. Team Sunweb doing a wonderful team job, and no way that anyone was getting past Michael Matthews on the run to the line. Big moment for Peter Sagan. He unceremoniously nerfs John Degenkolb out of the way, much to the Germans' consternation, but I don't think it had any effect on the issue, which was that Michael Matthews got the stage victory, his second success in Tour de Suisse. Well, here's what we have on offer for you today. Stage 4 of 9 takes us from the beautiful medieval city of Bern, heading south and heading towards Romandie, towards the mountains. 2 mountain assaults along the way, and both of them significant. 14 kilometres up Col des Mosses, not particularly steep, but it is long and arduous, and it's going to drag it out of the legs through the Aigle, the UCI centre, and up to Villars-sur-Olon. 10 kilometres of a final climb. It's a summit finish for the first time in the 2017 Tour de Suisse. 4 category ascent to complete the day. Just who's going to survive an epic battle out on the roads of Romandie. Well, the scene over the medieval city, these sumptuously beautiful surroundings of the state capital of Bern. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1983. It's been around since the late 12th century as an incorporated city. So many beautiful sights and sounds on offer for the tourist. Raced through this old town section and up onto the hill above the town yesterday for what was an epic conclusion to stage 4. About 600,000 people live here, and 4 bears as well. This is the Bear Park, which appeared in 2009. It's 4 excellent bears: Finn, Bjork, Ursina, and there's 3 of them apparently. Just 3 bears, that's plenty. And a growling Aussie as well, who's looking for victory again today, but it's unlikely to happen. Can Lasse Norman Hansen hang on to his mountains lead? And Nick Dougal will wear the points jersey, sitting second overall in that competition at the moment. Michael Albacini, wow, somewhat impassive from the grizzled veteran, sent on their way across the cobbles in Bern in time-honoured fashion. It's 172 riders that departed Bern today, a couple of non-starters. Sebastian Reichenbach, disappointingly for the local fans from Française des Jeux, was sick overnight. Davide Martinelli, the young Italian rider from Quick-Step, is also a non-starter. Well, surveying the epic scenery, the Alps looming in the background, and very much in the foreground of the riders' attention. It's the Bahrain squad to the fore in the early stages as they work their way through the rolling countryside towards those 2 mountain ascents that will be significant. I can tell you there's a break of 4 riders up the road. This is the main peloton behind. Riders already suffering in what's another very, very hot day in the saddle. It relented slightly yesterday, a little bit overcast for a while, but this is more like days 1 and 2. And it's the Bahrain Merida squad on the front, setting the agenda, trying to set a tempo that's going to soften up the legs of the other riders. They're trying to look after the interests, I would suspect, of Jon Izagirre, who showed well in the finale yesterday. Second overall in this race 12 months ago. This is Bahrain Merida on the front of the peloton, chasing down these 4 riders. Lars Boom is there, the yellow and black of Team Lotto NL Jumbo. Larry Warbasse is at the back of the group here, just moving up, number 186 for Aqua Blue Sport, and representing the interests of Lasse Norman Hansen in this group, because on the front there is Nick van der Leijken, who sits second in the mountains competition, and he'll have high hopes of lasting through at least one of the classified climbs on the route today. And the 4th member, Antoine Duchesne, also away with Nick van der Leijken on day 1 of at least day 2, the first road stage. Antoine Duchesne from Direct Energy, the Canadian rider, rides to the front of the group. Duchesne and his 3 breakaway companions had amassed a gap of 7 minutes and 42 seconds, I think was the maximum advantage, and they've controlled that, starting to come down now, and it needs to, down to the last 40 kilometres, but in that final 40 kilometres are the 2 classified ascents of the day. Cat 1 ascent followed by the final summit climb up to Villars-sur-Olon. Brian Smith is alongside once more, and he's been surveying the scene over the riders throughout the day, throughout the week, and looking forward, I feel, with some heightened level of anticipation to our first summit finish of the week.
Yeah, heightened anticipation, but I don't think it's going to completely break up or decide the Tour de Suisse this stage anyway. We're on the second part of the Col de Moses. The Col de Moses is 14 kilometres in length, 3.7%, but it goes up in 2 stages. The first stage has steep parts of about 6, 7, possibly 8%, and then we kind of level for about 4 kilometres, and then we start to kick up towards the finish, where it averages around about 6% again. We're on the second part of this climb. In fact, the Tour de France came over the second part of this climb last year in the Tour de France stage 17 it was, in fact, and they categorised the second part of this climb as a 3rd category climb. Today, because we take in the slightly longer climb and the kind of steeper parts at the bottom of the climb over the length of 14 kilometres, the Tour de Suisse have recognised this climb as a 1st category climb. So it's not a major test, but after we hit the top of this climb, there is 34.2 kilometres to go to the finish. 18 kilometres of that is down into Aigle, and then along towards Olon, where we hit the final climb, which is 10.4 kilometres in length.
10k to the finish to conclude, but a lot of racing before they get to that point, and Bahrain Merida setting a very, very tough tempo on the front. It's really significantly eating into the advantage of the 4 riders up front. Nowhere to be seen. Conspicuous by their absence at the moment are Team Sunweb. They won't be enjoying this pace. Obviously, we're not anticipating or expecting that Michael Matthews will hang on to his yellow jersey today, but handily placed, just 10 seconds back is his teammate Tom Dumoulin. Is it too much? We pick up Matthews now, the overall leader of this race, by 10 seconds after that wonderful sprint finish success yesterday. Any reason to suspect or anticipate or expect that Tom Dumoulin will survive?
Well, I think, yeah, for sure he'll be there. Michael Matthews might not be too far away. It's all in the speed to climb this final climb. There won't be a problem in this climb. I think Bahrain Merida want this to be a little bit more difficult. We saw it in the stage 2 when Gilbert said, you know, it was nice, the breakaway had, you know, we thought we were in control. All of a sudden they started riding harder at the front, the breakaway started riding harder, and it turned out the last lap of stage 2 was very, very difficult. The same could be said about this. They could ride over this climb and then ride into the last climb. The last climb, 10.4 kilometres in length. It starts with 8.8% for the first 2 kilometres, so it's difficult to start with. Then it levels a little bit for a kilometre, 4.2, then 10.1 for a further kilometre and a half, levels a little bit, 7%, 7.9, 8.4, and then with just about 2 kilometres to go, it levels to 3.9, but the last part averages just under 7%, and then we come round the last corner at 300 metres to go, and it's a hard finish, but it really depends on how hard they race up it. These riders in the breakaway, Lars Boom, the best placed of the overall in 1 minute and 16 seconds, strong rider. Warbasse sitting in second place for Aqua Blue in the dark blue kit. He was 8th overall in the Tour of Norway in May and 13th in Yorkshire, so he's got some reasonable good form at this moment. Duchesne, who we've already seen at the frontier in the yellow bike, 16th in Dunkirk, again in May, stage 2 in the breakaway, strong rider. And Van der Leicke, he'll just be looking at these maximum points at the top of this climb, 7th, 9th in the fjords in May. So these riders have got some form. I think it was a case of who was going to come to the front and try and bring these riders back, because I believe that if it was a strong breakaway went away today, they would contest the finish. But Barry and Merida have decided they want to try and take the stage one, try and take the time bonuses, and try and put Jon Izagirre, who looked as if he was in reasonable good form yesterday when he followed Pozzovivo in the final climb. So Barry and Merida want to make this as difficult as possible, this climb, although the parcours doesn't suggest it will be that difficult for a lot of the GC contenders.
Well, there you have the leader of the mountains classification, Lasse Norman Hansen, twice in the breaks already this week. He's amassed a decent haul of points. 12 points is his advantage over Nick van der Leicke, and he has to hope that Nick van der Leicke doesn't score top points at the top of this first categorised climb of the day. Looks like Lars Boom is starting to feel the pressure a little bit. We've just over 4 kilometres to the top of Col de Mos, and the former world cyclocross champion, perhaps at his best in much shallower and much shorter hills than this. He's just got to ride his own tempo up this hill, and he'll know exactly what he can and can't do.
Well, he's a strong rider, but the tempo's up at the peloton, and these guys know that they have to try push on a little bit. And Lars Boom, you know, a little shake of the heads. 2012, he won the Eneco Tour. He won a stage of the Vuelta and the Tour de France. 2007, a long time ago, he's under 23 time trial world champion. So he's a strong enough rider and was the best placed in the general classification. But this gap is coming down. These riders want to crest the top of this first category climb with as many minutes as possible, because 18 kilometres downhill they won't be brought back too much, and give them an opportunity. If they can get to the bottom of this descent with 4 minutes, they would be more than happy with that.
So it's Larry Warbasse that is doing the real damage here. Duchesne is just bent over the bars trying to maintain the pace, and Nick van der Leicke doesn't look like he likes it much at the moment, does he? The man from Rompot, third of the three here. Larry Warbasse has two agendas here, doesn't he? He's obviously going to try and see can he hang on out front throughout the day and maybe contend for a stage victory. He's already been third on a stage of a Tour de Suisse 3 years ago from a breakaway, so he knows what it is to perform well in the mountains in the Tour de Suisse, and Larry Warbasse is a strong pair of legs. His second ambition here as well is to make it as difficult as possible for Nick van der Leicke when they get to the top of the hill, to prevent van der Leicke from taking those 12 points. That would mean he would move level on points with Lasse Norman Hansen, and probably take over the lead of the mountains classification at the end of the day. So two considerable reasons for Larry Warbasse to be pushing on as he is right now.
I think as a team you have to look at your assets, and I questioned the fact that Hansen went in a breakaway yesterday, but he rode strongly, he took some more points and has got a good lead in that competition. But like you say, van der Leicke decided not to go in and put a teammate in there to try and take the points away to save himself to go in the breakaway today. So it was really no surprise that van der Leicke was in this breakaway today, and all he has to do is get maximum points on this first category climb and hope that he could probably finish in the top 5. Hope the breakaway possibly stays away. But now that Barry and Merida are riding with some sort of urgency here, 5.5 minutes. You got to remember the top of this climb comes with 34 kilometres to go, so only 3 kilometres away from the top, and then 18 kilometres downhill.
Well, tick one box there, because Larry Warbasse has put Nick van der Leicke under considerable difficulty. Van der Leicke is pedaling squares and surely going backwards. The 25-year-old Dutchman, his first year as a Pro Continental rider, and he's looking around for salvation. It's not going to come. He's got to try and get back and get some momentum into those pedals. And I'll tell you what, these climbs are punishing, they're unrelenting, and they do not forgive. So any lack of power, any lack of energy, and you'll soon be caught out. Warbasse looks across. That's not a smile, it's something of a grimace, but he's very much in control of his effort at the moment. Duchesne can only watch and admire his fellow North American. I wonder how much he's admiring it as much as wishing he wasn't going as hard as he's going at the moment. But it is helping those two riders to stave off the advances of the peloton, because Bahrain Merida are really putting it up to the rest of them at the moment.
Yeah, it's not really the gradient that is hurting a lot of the riders now, because the gradient, it levels a little bit with 3 kilometres to go. So where the breakaway is, the peloton are on a 6.7% gradient for the next kilometre, and then we get with 3 kilometres to go where the breakaway is. It starts to level a little bit, and it's just the pace that Larry Warbasse is setting for Aqua Bleu at the front that is putting Van der Leijken in trouble. But this climb, like I've already mentioned, in the Tour de France, the top of this part of this climb, in fact the last kind of 6-7 kilometres was only categorised 3rd category in the Tour de France last year. So it's not an overly difficult top of the climb, but like anything that heads upwards, if you put a bit of pace in it, you can start to hurt the individuals behind.
Yes, it's been the mantra this week, isn't it? It's not steepness of the climb, it's how hard they attack it. And it's particularly putting, well, several riders in there. Michael Matthews is safely towards the head of the fares, and so too is Peter Sagan. Himself a little bit of slippage room, and Nick Dougal is suffering a little bit at the back. The Dimension Data rider from South Africa in the break on day one mopped up some very useful points, finds himself just 2 points behind Michael Matthews, but now being distanced by the peloton, and any hope of picking up some intermediate points along the way to get back in the lead of that classification are looking a little bit slim at the moment.
Yes, the first sprint was taken by Lars Boom. Van der Leijken was second, Duchesne was in 3rd place. There's still one sprint to come, but I believe that that's in after the climbing a lot, right at the bottom of the final climb. So I still believe that the 3 riders that are in front, albeit Van der Leijken has been dropped, will pass through that point and take the seconds away. But unfortunately, that's what happens when you go deep in one stage. It's very difficult to recover, and for some of these young riders that put themselves in a breakaway, go very deep, it takes a couple of days to recover, and obviously he hasn't recovered yet, and starting to struggle at the back of the bunch now.
It's stage 4 of the Tour de Suisse 2017, and it is the Bahrain Merida squad setting an unloved tempo on the front at the moment, as Gasparotto absolutely charging along and looking after his main man, Jon Izagirre. Izagirre safely in the group and enjoying the effort that has been put in by his teammates, because this is putting the other riders under pressure. Stage 4 Tour de Suisse 2017. There are 4 riders clear of the field at the moment. 2 out front, being chased now by a couple of riders on their own who've been distanced by their erstwhile breakaway companions. It's Larry Warbasse that is doing the damage for the Aqua Bleu squad. At the head of affairs, he's got Antoine Duchesne from Direct Energy for company. Nick van der Leijken has just recently been distanced. The Team Rompot rider hoping for mountains points at the top of this first of 2 categorised descents on this stage 4. One Col de Mos. There are a lot of riders suffering. Well, great effort by Nick van der Leijken. The Team Rompot rider in orange has managed to make his way back up to the other 2. As the gradient eased, it just came back to him a little bit.
Yeah, it was always going to ease the further up. The last 3 kilometres aren't too bad in this climb. You can see the gradient now. It's just the pace on the last bits of 7%er that Van der Leijken was in trouble. But Warbasse has to make sure that he has to take maximum points at the top of this climb to try and make sure that his teammate keeps a hold of that jersey today.
Well, we're very close to the top of this climb. It comes in, according to our road book, within the next 400 metres. So Duchesne goes to the front, and Warbasse have that long turn, which really made Duchesne suffer and certainly made Van der Leijken suffer. Now just rolls to the back, and what has he retained? As Brian says, he needs to try and summon up another sprint. Van der Leijken has made a huge effort to get back up there. The word is coming. Is this the time to be handing out bottles? I think they need to think about the sprint to come, because Van der Leijken is certainly in the wheel of Antoine Duchesne and waiting for his moment to pounce. Warbasse safely gets the... well, there comes the attack. And Warbasse is still adjusting his jersey. And through these final couple of turns, Warbasse safely onto the wheel of Duchesne, and not really considering the points at the top. So this is Van der Leijke, uncontested, I believe, who's just taken those points ahead of Duchesne. And a bit of a surprise to see Larry Warbasse not in a position there to contest those points. So we'll wait for full confirmation, but I think that could well have put Nick Van der Leijke into a very strong position in the mountains classification. There's your first mountain climb completed by the three breakaway riders. Behind them on the road is Lars Boom, somewhere in between these three, and well, about a minute down now at the moment, in between these three and the bunch behind. The bunch led by Bahrain Merida.
Well, just to confirm the points at the start of today, Lasse Norman Hansen had 33 points, Nick Van der Leijke had 20 points. So the fact that he took 12 points at the top means that Hansen still holds that by 1 point. So it's going to be very difficult for these three riders to stay away to the finishing line. But if Van der Leijke does manage to hang on there, then for third place on the final stage there is 10 points. So he keeps it by virtue of 1 point at this moment in time.
So by the narrowest of margins, Nick Van der Leijke though is closed up to within a point of Lasse Norman Hansen. Lasse Norman Hansen has to hope that 20 points maximum, 20 points for the first rider over the line at the GPM at the conclusion of today's stage. So Lasse Norman Hansen needs to finish the stage, and he'll hang on to that mountains jersey for at least one more day. Look at the way the bunch is stretched thin. What a solid job this is by the Bahrain Merida squad. Team Sunweb lining up behind them. They've got the yellow jersey of Michael Matthews just trailing along in their wake. And then the other squad starting to assemble and starting to gather as they try and get organised in the arrowhead further back. Behind that little arrowhead, it all stretches thin again, and there are a lot of riders suffering. Miguel Angel Lopez at the back of the bunch a little while ago, the Astana rider, the reigning champion, comes into this race with virtually no UCI racing at all this year after a string of injuries. He suffered through the Vuelta a España last year with a couple of crashes, eventually retired. It crashed, or at least had another injury in winter training. It's only just come back to racing, so the young talent from Colombia might be finding this a little bit difficult. His first mountain challenge of Tour de Suisse, his first mountain challenge of his racing season. And there he is indeed, just towards the back of the bunch, still in it at the moment. How not much longer will he last? His teammate Oscar Gatto behind him, number 5, and number 1 is just a few riders in front on the left-hand side in that sky blue jersey of Astana. Sondre Holstenger having a little look around there. The AG Tour Le Monde Allemand, we'd expect it to be to the fore of the first two road stages on Sunday and Monday, but being distanced on the final hills on both occasions, so Sondre Holstenger hasn't really brought his A game to Tour de Suisse. It's a useful week of World Tour racing to hopefully add to his good form. Mentioned the non-starters today. Sebastian Reichenbach, a non-starter, so to Davide Martinelli, and also we've heard that out on the road Reinhard Janse van Rensburg for Team Dimension Data has been forced to retire, and indeed a bit of a blow to the Cannondale Drapac pro cycling team, because Lawson Craddock has also been forced to call a halt to his Tour de Suisse. So attacks from Katusha. What is the agenda here? Is this Restrepo going to take some climbing points? Is this the beginning of an assault for the climbing classification? We'll watch to see whether Jonathan Restrepo is interested in getting in the break on days to come, or perhaps there's another agenda here.
I think probably the latter, another agenda. It'd be quite easy just to nip off in the last 200 metres. You get 250 metres to go to the top now, but I think he's just trying to create something. We have got 18 kilometres of descent before we get a few kilometres into the town at the bottom of the climb. and then we come up to the last climb. So we go into a lawn, and then from the we go through the sprint, and then it's about 10.4 kilometres to the top. We've seen Katusha do this in a number of times in stage races where they try to attack over the top and it's descent. So they're not making it easy for the teams behind, but they want to try and get someone in the possibility of a Spilak. So what they're trying to do is put a rider in front, maybe try and create something so that there's a possible springboard. But over the top of the climb, the peloton are 5 minutes in deficit to the leading riders, and with 18 kilometres of a descent, I can't see that coming down too much. Even if they get to the bottom of the descent with 4 minutes, it's a healthy advantage going on to this final climb of 10 kilometres.
Well, look at that, getting on for 100 kilometres an hour for the riders, inside 30 kilometres remaining on this, the fourth stage of Tour de Suisse, with Nick van der Leijken racing hard to stay with his two breakaway companions. Duchesne setting a hectic tempo in this descent, and this is the interloper in between all the briefly Lars Boom in the yellow jersey, as Peter Sagan, the world champion, goes back for a bit of nosebag. Picks up a musette from the Bora Hansgrohe team car, and he will collect some food and distribute that around his pockets. Got to take it when you can. Just heading into the descent now is the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, that's the trouble sometimes, is you do it just over the top of the climb, because as soon as you're on the descent and you're doing, like these riders were doing, 93 kilometres an hour, very difficult to go back to the car and get bottles.
And that's a big moment there for Duchesne. He's the one that's really pressing on. He's setting the tempo. He fancies his chances of staying away today, and missed his apex spectacularly there, but didn't panic, managed to keep it upright. Lars Boom behind. He's a pretty handy descender himself, great bike hander.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he got very close to coming back to the front three riders. He is a very good descender, very good cyclocross rider in his day as well, and obviously just looking at road events now, but he has not had maybe the best of years this year, and trying to come back to the three in front. But I think this last climb will see him off again, because it's a very difficult climb. Okay, it's only 10.4 kilometres in length, but there's some big kick-ups in it, and it's going to be very difficult. It's all about the pace that these riders are going to go into this climb. Are they going to be able to take back the 5 minutes? We'll have to wait and see how much has the breakaway got in the tank left. Duchesne and van der Leijken were in the breakaway in stage 2, showed they were strong there, and together with Warbas, I think they could go deep into the stage. And you know, the stage is still up for grabs. It really depends who wants to try and take control here. Already today, Declan, we've seen Wellens try and fail to get in the breakaway a little bit earlier on, when it's just trying to establish itself.
Well, we're not going over that one, but we're still going up a pretty steep hill today. It's the Gros Vin, overlooking the Col des Mosses in the canton of Vaud. 2,189 metres at its peak. We're very much in amongst the Bernese Alps now. The epic scenery. The car on the way here to the finish line, you see one spectacular hill in the distance, and you're just taking in the marvel of it all, and then you notice even further in distance there's an even steeper one. It really is remarkable countryside. Never fails to amaze. 25k to the finish. Warbas sticking the knee out, MotoGP style. To what value I'm not sure, but whatever it takes to make sure you stay with them. And that didn't quite work out for Restrepo. He's been retained now by the bunch, so that speculative attack by the Colombian rider for Team Katusha comes to naught, and it remains 4 riders clear of the field, inside 25 kilometres to go. It's Paddy Bevan at the back for Team Cannondale. He's got a different project today. He got up into the top 10 twice already this week. Great second place finish on day 2. In Ham is just missing out on that occasion, but nonetheless spectacular sprinting from the New Zealander. So Crouch Low over the bars on the front of the bunch. Hasn't been shown to be particularly, like Vichot, particularly technical, albeit that tough right-hander that almost caught Duchesne out. The bunch manager. Not spectacularly or even significantly or even in any small way eating into the advantage, because it was sitting steady at about 450 when they went across the summit, and they're holding that advantage over the bunch at the moment.
Yeah, it's no surprise to be coming down a descent like this. The breakaway in the bunch will come down pretty much roughly about the same speed. It's very difficult to bring back the breakaway in a descent like this, but they'll come to the bottom with, you know, well over 4 minutes, and go into this final climb with, I would say, about 4 minutes advantage, and you know, that gives them an opportunity. Depends what they've got in the legs, but we've already seen Barry and Merida want to try and do something with Jon Izagirre, but I don't think we'll see massive gaps in the finish here. Although it's only 10.4 kilometres, there are some kind of kick-ups on the climb, but it's not an overly difficult stage when we consider what we've got coming in the next few days.
Well, what have we got coming in the next few days? Tomorrow's a hilly stage, could be one for the breakaway. It's the longest stage of the week from Bex to Certo, 222 kilometres in total. And then we've got another 2 mountain stages, 2 summit finishes to La Punt, over 166.5 kilometres on Thursday afternoon. And then Friday, we head up to the Rottenbach-Gletscher, the glacier in Sölden in Austria. 3rd year in succession, the Tour de Suisse venturing into Austria for 161 kilometres of epic mountain racing. And that summit finish has proved to be something of a Waterloo for many GC contenders over the last few years. A very, very difficult climb indeed. Those summit finishes perhaps more likely to cause big splits among the lead group, but I've no doubt that most of these riders won't be in contention at the conclusion of today's activities, for stage honours at any rate. Motorcycle having to press on here. Fantastic pictures there of those riders taking that long sweeping left-hander. Perfect poise and precision, no pace notes here. First time through. Just able to pick out an apex. Long, long right-handers. I mean, it's single file formation for the entire bunch, stretched over many, many hundreds of meters. Still a very large bunch involved here. This looks like Samuel Lau, who's been at the back of the field quite a bit over the last couple of days. The rider from CCC Sprande Polkowice from Belarus. Winching his way onto the tail. Jack Bauer from Quick-Step. As Lars Bohm isn't pushing hard now, he's just waiting for the bunch at this point. He's resigned to his fate, I believe.
Yeah, I think their job was to try and get someone in the breakaway, and with the possibility of trying to help Steven Kruijswijk. Steven Kruijswijk obviously likes Grand Tours and goes well in the 3rd week, so he normally shows well, but prefers you know, the Grand Tours than the kind of 1 week races. But I think with pulling out of the Giro d'Italia, I think he'll be in good form, and I think he'll want to try and do something today for sure. And I think that's where they played the card of Lars Bohm. Lars Bohm now will kind of drift back and obviously try and help as much as he can Kruijswijk in this final climb.
So inside 20 kilometres to go on stage 4 of Tour de Suisse 2017. 3 riders up front. Still it is Duchesne sitting on the front. Larry Warbasse just dropping back a little bit while picking a late apex, and he'll close back up. So nicely timed. Duchesne really is pushing on, isn't he? Finds himself having to make adjustments in the middle of the corners on a regular basis.
Well, the thing is, if they can make some time on the descent and go into this final climb with as many minutes as possible, then there is a possibility there, because you know, they never lost too much on the first category climb, and they've got some belief in themselves, and that's why they're trying to kind of push on now.
Out of the saddle, back up to speed for the 3 up front. 4:43. It's come down at about 10 seconds in the last couple of kilometres as they really press on in the front of the peloton. Trek Segafredo are to the fore. Bahrain Merida as well. This is Lars Bohm, who's throttled back considerably. He's turned off the tap and is now waiting for the bunch. And this is going to be a little bit of a difficult moment, I think, for the bunch as they go past those roadworks. Just a little bit of a reset to decide who's going to push on. Segafredo trying to keep things honest. Now they're looking for a little bit of assistance. Heading down into the valley, and the gap to the front is coming down. How much would they need starting that final 10 kilometres? Care to speculate on what sort of time would be required in order for them to hang on out front?
Depends who takes it up from the bottom. It's the same as we say all the time. If you know who is going to take it up, the GC contenders just going to set tempo on the climb and try and kind of race the final bit to gain 10, 20, 30 seconds. You know, the thing is, it's not been an overly difficult stage for a lot of them. There's still a lot of hard stages still to come. So I would think that if they hit this final climb with maybe 5 minutes advantage, then they are in with a shout. But then again, if Barry and Merida, they've already played the card today, they've come to the front to set a hard tempo. If they ride from the bottom and ride full gas and make it as difficult as possible, then they can be brought back. I still think it's pretty much in the balance at this moment, and I think these three riders believe, the way they're descending now and taking some risks, these three riders believe it's possible that they could stay away for today's stage win.
Larry Warbasse hunkered low over the top tube. A man from Aqua Blue Sport, former EAM cycling rider. And much indeed of the infrastructure of this new Aqua Blue Sport squad was acquired from the EAM cycling squad, the Swiss team which disbanded, World Tour team. Larry Warbasse able to pick up a contract with the newly constituted Pro Continental outfit, registered in Ireland. Warbasse from Dearborn, Michigan. He's just gone to the front of that group, and his measured style through the corners would make things a little bit slightly less hectic. Coming down into the final 10 miles now, Duchesne back in the front as they come to the summit, I should say the foot of the hill. Whoa, and a bit of another moment there for Duchesne, who just gets the shout to go right. And I think if he hadn't heard it, he wouldn't have gone. The other is breakaway companions just giving him the nod. Been a long day in the saddle, and those riders, they've been hot and bothered for the last 3 days. They'll be feeling it a bit now.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. They were going out at pace. They are going full gas, and the police outrider was showing them to go waving in that direction. There was another one there speaking to one of the car drivers, but yeah, let's hope the peloton don't do likewise. But they have come off the climb, and they have just over 4.5 minutes.
Well, we're at UCI headquarters in Aigle in Switzerland. There's the one of the more pretty settings for a world sporting body, and they have World Cycling Centre, fantastic facilities, including of course that velodrome. Many indeed riders from developing nations are given scholarships to come and live in Aigle. Right, BMX setup as well. And the BMX riders out doing a bit of training. I wonder will they have time to scoot across and watch Tour de Suisse flashing past very shortly. At UCI headquarters, yes, there are many riders from nations throughout the world that wouldn't have quite the same infrastructure, the same facilities or opportunities. They come and live and work in Aigle. They are trained for a career in professional cycling. So the bunch behind, 4:37 now. They're not hanging around, are they?
No, I don't think they can. And as they said, Gregory Rast is on the front for Trek Segafredo, and they'll realise that they're experienced enough that they want to keep the tempo up. They want to make it hard. It's very difficult if you're too far down the back in this peloton because it does stretch out. Once we get on the flat on this descent, they'll have to ride full gas to the bottom of this climb and race up the final climb if they want to try and bring these three riders back. Got to remember Lars Boom is still in between. I think he'll be trying to sit out there just in case Stephen Kruijswijk needs him.
Former Team Skyman Lars Petter Nordhaug on the back of the bunch for Team Aqua Blue Sport. He's got a teammate up front in the breakaway. Once upon a time, Larry Warbasse had Lars Boom for company, but Lars Boom now has been dragged back by the peloton, and Boom looking around to see where Stefan Kruijswijk is. Duchesne piling it on. And total commitment now from these three riders. No holding anything back. Got to get into this climb with the maximum advantage possible. Just see if they can possibly survive up the treacherously cruel slopes up to Villars-sur-Olon. Look at the way, that's a beautiful shot, isn't it, of the peloton snaking its way down into these hairpins towards the foot of the climb. And they'll continue to gain with the advantage of the gradient. Peloton bunching up, and one or two riders taking an opportunity to dive bomb on the inside to that other surface. Trek Segafredo setting it the big agenda on the front. What's the thinking for that team?
Well, they're obviously thinking of the stage and keeping the riders out of trouble there. When you think of Fabio Fellini, good finisher, only lost 25 seconds so far in this race, sitting in 11th place. So I think that it would be possibly about him. They also have Pantano, who has been sick in the first day and starting to come better. So I'm not too sure if he'll want to really push hard on this first mountain stage of the Tour de Suisse, or wait a little bit later on, because that helped him last year. The last few stages here, he really went well, winning the last stage in last year's Tour de Suisse. So if I was Trek, I would maybe give him another day, but it's just putting him in position, looking after him and keeping out of trouble more than anything.
Yeah, and Pantano went into the Tour de France in flying form, didn't he?
Yeah.
The Tour de Suisse was a wonderful preparation for him.
If what they're saying is he had really, gastro problems and things like that only a couple of days ago, then to push him on this day would maybe be the wrong thing. But you never know. He might be feeling really, really good now, and want to give it a good crack today.
So the peloton down towards Aigle and down towards the foot of the Col des Mosses. One climb remaining. There is the Chateau d'Aigle. It's not UCI headquarters. It's not where Brian Cookson lives, I understand. So inside 12 kilometers remaining, 4.5 minutes the advantage for those three riders up front now from the initial four-man breakaway. Three riders continuing to work well together. Duchesne replaced by Larry Warbasse, the US rider. Warbasse, the big animator, the big man who really pushed on towards the summit of the last climb, but it was Nick van der Leijken who took the points. Warbasse, 26 years of age now, 7th on GC in the Tour of Poland last year, a great 8th place on GC and Tour of Norway recently. We confirm the finishing order at the the second sprint of the day. These riders will move will move up the standings in the points competition. The bonus seconds on offer of little importance or value. Warbasse is 120th overall at 13.5 minutes. Duchesne best placed of the trio. He's 11 minutes 46 back, and 14.16 is the deficit for Nick van der Leijken. Still Nordhaug on the back of the peloton, former winner, of course, of Tour de Yorkshire, former Team Sky man. Found a berth at the Aqua Blue Sports Squad, and he's a great acquisition. Great experience at the very highest level. So we're racing into the final 10 kilometers on stage 4 of Tour de Suisse. Peloton masses around at the bottom of the hill. Now they try and get reorganized after that long descent, 18 kilometers of descending. As the Française de Jeu squad now try to take control at the front of the peloton. And, who could they possibly be looking out for? Perhaps Morabito might fancy his chances?
Yeah, I think so. Morabito, Christian Oud-Eiking is up there as well. So now that they lost Reichenbach at the start due to sickness, they'll be looking at options for some of the other riders, but still getting over 4 minutes to the three riders in front. They've already started the climb, or just started the climb, and this climb starts pretty dramatically, 8.8, then it levels, and that's for the first 2 kilometres, 4.2 for the next kilometre. Then the steepest part comes between 3 and 4 kilometres into the climb.
So Christian Eiking sitting at the back of the picking out Morabito, number 64. No surprise, the local man is a local hero. Best Swiss rider competition, of course, currently led by Stefan Kung. Actually, Michael Albacini, indeed it is. Albacini in the red jersey of leader of the Best Swiss rider competition by a scant 6 seconds from Stefan Kung. Morabito at 9 seconds, so red jersey on offer at the conclusion of today, and of course potential for a home stage victory. Down to 4:11, and that will continue to shrink as the riders up front are into the lower slopes of this finishing climb, and it's particularly difficult at this point. We're looking at an average of 7.42% for the final 10 kilometers. That's a maximum as well of I made it 10.6%. They're saying 7.9%. Either way, it's getting up towards 8%.
Yeah, we've been talking to the people about the graphics. I don't think they have got the...
There's no consensus, that's for sure.
No, I think they're just throwing some stuff up there. But yeah, these are the hairpins at the bottom. We are on, for the first couple of kilometres, it's 8.8%. This is in fact the Col de la Croix. We go pretty much just over halfway up the Col de la Croix, where we finish here at Villars-sur-Olon, and the climb is 10.4, although they said 10.2, they're 10.4 in length. But fortunately for these riders, we don't go all the way to the top to the Col de la Croix, but this is a hard enough climb, averaging between 7 and 8% the whole way.
Well, Duchesne perhaps starting to suffer a little bit there, and Nick van der Leijke just working his way around the Canadian rider, as the bunch are starting to feel it a little bit as well. Caruso, well, what has he got to offer today, the BMC man? His riders well to the fore in recent moments, and they'll all assemble. It looks like Duchesne has indeed, after his heroics on the descent, his big effort in the Valley Road, has perhaps pushed a little bit too hard too early, and much to his disappointment. Of course, he had a long day in the breakaway on day 2 on Sunday. And Duchesne, the Canadian rider, 25 years of age now, and in his 4th year with this squad, is finding this a bit of a difficult moment. So it's Warbasse and Nick van der Leijke that press on at the front, and Warbasse looks full of fight, doesn't he? Very strong rider. A string of strong results over the years. As I say, 3rd place from the breakaway on a stage of Tour de Suisse back in 2014.
Yeah, it's sometimes difficult for the riders when they come off an 18 kilometres ascent. They've got a small amount of flat, and then they hit this climb for the first 2 kilometres to 8.8. It kind of really stings the legs, but we see the peloton here still being led by Française de Jeu, also coming up towards the front of the riders in the red helmets from UAE. But yeah, van der Leijke is starting to not like this climb as he starts to get distance from Warbasse now. So it's whether Warbasse can kind of hang on, but already in the first 2 kilometres of this climb, or less than the 2 kilometres, they've already lost 1 minute. So I think it's going to be very difficult. It was always going to depend on how fast they're going to race, and they certainly are going to race up this climb, but it's all going to depend on how much they had left in their legs, and it looks as if Warbasse is starting to struggle as well.
So too is Michael Matthews, Time to make adjustments to your dress and just plan for the final 10 kilometres. Just get his way up to the finish and hope that he can contend once more. Perhaps tomorrow, perhaps on the penultimate stage, there's an opportunity as well for him. But right now, the yellow jersey is disappearing from the shoulders of Michael Matthews. He's at the back of the bunch. Will not be a contender now. And this looks like Peter Sagan, indeed it is, who's not even going to try and resist. He can climb on occasion, but this he feels is just a bridge too far. Fully 10 kilometres or category climb, just beyond even his extraordinary talents.
Yeah, this gap coming down even more now. It's just about 3 minutes, so that's very much doable. So it does look as if the winner of today's stage will come from the peloton behind, but it's going to be a fast 8.5 kilometres to the finish. With the 8 kilometre, in about half a kilometre, it does ease off to about 4.2%. So they have a little bit of respite, but then they're straight back into 10.1%, the steepest part of the climb.
Well, no doubt who's the strongest rider of the breakaway group today, certainly in terms of climbing, and that's Larry Warbasse, who's climbing very easily indeed. He's got nice suppleness and a high cadence and seems to be in control of things at the moment, albeit there's quite a grimace on his face. Just how long can he hang on clear of the bunch? Antoine Duchesne and Nick van der Leijken will do well to hold them off. Is there any chance, I wonder, for Larry Warbasse? Doesn't look too good at the moment. Doesn't look too good either for Michael Albacini, the best Swiss rider. Could well be handing over that jersey to Steve Morabito at the end of today. So it looks as if he's been tailed off by the bunch. Albacini is out of contention. Greg Van Avermaet on the distinctive bike as well. Just picks up a bottle. You see now, it looks like Betancourt just sitting second in line here. What has he got on offer today?
Yeah, that's the big question. He showed some good form. In the Hammer Series, where he won the, I know it's a team event, but he won the climbing event. So it looked as if he's on some decent form. Rui Costa, 3 times winner of this race, also up towards the 4 as well.
Yeah, the UAE Team Emirates squad assembling towards the front and then presenting Rui Costa into 3rd position at the moment. So Rui Costa loves this race. Great opportunity for a World Tour stage victory, race victory. Edo Hollenstein, of course, being picked up by the cameras. And indeed Martin Elmiger. So no stress for the 2 Swiss riders as they well, I haven't got a full translation of that, but suffice to say, I think they're happy enough just to ride up and at their own tempo. They'll ride on tomorrow. Elmiger, great performance in the time trial on day 1, top 10 performance in the prologue. Didn't quite manage to get to wear the best Swiss riders jersey, but he'll race on through the week. Kruijswijk looking behind. We saw the yellow jersey of the Team Lotto NL Jumbo rider. Watching out to see what he can manage today. Just needs to move up in the group a little bit because it's considerably condensed now. Can't be much more than 40 riders of even that left in this group. Maybe it is a little bit more, but it's coming down pretty quickly. Down to 2:37, just over 2.5 minutes the advantage. That's probably half a minute gained in the last half kilometre, so massive gain by the peloton. Surely Larry Warbasse won't be able to hang on. Rui Costa has teammates in there. There's at least one.
I'm just looking to see at the front here we've got Christian Odeiking of Française des Jeux, but I look a little bit further behind, I can't see anybody else from Française des Jeux, so it's not unless they're feeling really good and sitting well down the group. But Rui Costa up there with Conti from UAE, Sebastian Henao also up there for Team Sky.
Yeah, so we'll watch with interest to see as Mikel Nieva making it in for Team Sky as well. Larry Warbasse alone in his suffering, 15 seconds ahead of Nick van der Leijken now. That gap will be going out to the Team Rompop man, but coming down to the main bunch behind. Still pedalling steady. He's got a high cadence, which is always a good sign. It's quite possibly a smaller gear that he's riding than the riders in the bunch behind.
Yeah, he's on one of the easier parts of the climb to 4.2%, but very soon he'll be on the steepest part, and I think he'll lose a little bit more time. But the peloton still pushing on as hard as they can, and it does look as if the winner of the stage and potentially the new yellow jersey will come from the main peloton.
Nick van der Leijken out of the saddle briefly and then back in. It's just too difficult, isn't it? This is the fourth time that Tour de Suisse has had Villars as a stage finish. On all three previous occasions, it was a rider from Italy that took the honours back in 1966. Carlo Ciapano, I should say, took the win. Ugo Colombo was victorious in 1971, and Davide Rebellin, also of Italy, in 1998. Will it be success for Italy in 2017? Božovic starting to make his way up. Inside 7 kilometers remaining. This section of road is between 7 and 8%. That's why the likes of Philippe Gilbert, whose beautiful stage victory a couple of days ago, now knows that this is one to be survived, chalked off. Just try and get himself into position to prepare diligently for the Tour de France and perhaps score more stage successes later in the week. Well, now the group is down to a pretty small number. And now it's UAE Team Emirates trying to soften up the group. And we saw Conti to the fore a little while ago. So Rui Costa has put a rider out front to try and see can he draw the sting from some of the other riders in the group.
Yeah, Conti was riding at the front, and Rui Costa just went up and said there's no point riding. Matthias Frank comes through with Kruijswijk on the wheel. TJ Van Garderen is up there, and I think it's a case of Caruso also there with BMC. So Conti was setting a tempo. Rui Costa said we're still a long way to go. There's other teams here. Spilak is also there for Katusha. Jonas Zagera goes through the picture. Woods as well, also towards the four. Last year's winner, kind of hanging on there in the group. Just starting to lose the wheel a little bit there. Jan Hertz, Tom Dumoulin. They're all pretty much there kind of hanging on, so it's just a hard tempo they're setting at the moment, just kind of hanging on at the back there with Pantano.
Well, Dombrowski's there for Team Cannondale Drapac. Looks like Hugh Carthy's suffering a little bit, the young English climber. Trying to hang on for as long as he possibly can to this group, which is stretched thin now. That little stinging attack from Valerio Conti sparking this group into a little bit of action. And now we're going to see the wheat separated from the chaff. BMC go to the front. Caruso to the fore for them. And he's been paced diligently and impressively by TJ Van Garderen. I thought it was instructive that Van Garderen finished behind the main group yesterday with Stefan Kung. Steve Morabito going out the back for Française de Jeux after their early heroics. That's a bit disappointing.
Yeah, they were up riding for Morabito, but Morabito obviously felt good beforehand, got his team, hit the bottom of the climb, and just like anything, any climb, it's the speed you go up at, and he started to really suffer.
It's all Christian Eiking, who was setting the tempo on the front of the peloton. That's dropping back with Steve Morabito, the designated leader of the Française de Jeux squad. So he'll do well to get Morabito back into contention here.
You just saw just at the back there, Pantano of Trek Segafredo just drifting off the back. So, like I was saying before, they came to the front, got him in a good position, but you don't really want to force it. If you've had a stomach upset, it does take 2 or 3 days to recover. I was a little bit surprised. I would call him off a little bit because he's potentially a stage winner later on in this race.
So Jarlinson Pantano, stage winner 12 months ago as well. Fine final stage success. Propelled him on to stage glory in the Tour de France. The Colombian rider will live to fight on, but just needs to survive this one. And Antoine Duchesne is peddling squares, isn't he? It wasn't so long ago that he was with Larry Warbasse at the head of affairs, but really struggling, and the bunch are about to catch him, what's left of the bunch at any rate. Led by Team BMC, led by TJ Van Garderen.
Dumoulin.
That's a bit of a surprise. Tom Dumoulin, well, Tour de Suisse perhaps a bridge too far, sitting second overall, and was perhaps in contention or in position to take over the yellow jersey, but hasn't got what it takes, and it's no surprise really. Tom Dumoulin really suffering here, and after what he went through to win that wonderful Giro d'Italia, well, Tom Dumoulin, I suppose, is entitled to one off day or a couple.
Yes, the other things that he was involved in afterwards for publicity and the functions he had to go to, and sometimes it kind of tires you out. He's still got the D, so he's not lost all that fitness from the Giro d'Italia. I think it's maybe a little bit mental as well, but definitely looks a bit tired there. And just the pace that they're going up this climb, TJ Van Garderen is setting a blistering pace now. Still, Warbasse holding on to just over 2 minutes with 5.5 kilometres to go, but it doesn't ease at all. It's going to be very difficult for Warbasse to hold on to this lead.
So Warbasse is still pedaling a high cadence and hanging on to just over 2 minutes of an advantage, but there's 5.5 kilometres, more than half of this climb has yet to be ridden, and riders are going backwards at a rate of knots. Michael Woods now finds himself in difficulty, and the attacks are coming. Well, it was nicely set up by Team BMC. It's putting a lot of riders into difficulty. Looks like Betancourt is starting to suffer a little bit.
And it's Caruso goes for a BMC. Pozzovivo's Kruijswijk is there in yellow for Lotto NL Jumbo. Spilak is coming across for Katusha. Just at the back, the fifth rider is Matthias Frank, the hero here in this Tour de Suisse. So 5 riders trying to go away, and an attack over the top from Steven Kruijswijk.
Well, Matthias Frank makes it 2 riders from AG Tour Le Mondial to the 4. Kruijswijk looks behind himself as much as he looks ahead, wants to see exactly what the composition of this group is. The rider in yellow and black just rolls to the back, and Caruso continues to press on. His fellow countryman Domenico Pozzovivo sitting in second position, and riders starting to suffer now. Peo Bilbao at the back of this group, and it looks like indeed it is, it's Rui Costa who's been distanced. So too Jon Izagirre, time trial here on the penultimate day 12 months ago, has another time trial opportunity. Well placed after the first few days of racing action, but Jon Izagirre is in trouble.
Yeah, sometimes the first main climb, or the first main climbing day of a stage race like that causes problems for many riders, and it wasn't overly difficult the climb to Col de Moss beforehand, so we come down that long descent and a lot of these riders are suffering, and it looks like we've got a group of about 8 or 9 riders just in front.
Rui Costa goes to the front just to try and set a tempo, and he's not going to give this one up yet. Meanwhile, Kruijswijk wants to go for one. Spilak is alive to the danger. The Team Lotto NL Jumbo rider chased down by Team Katusha and former winner Simon Spilak.
Yeah, Kruijswijk really going for it for Lotto NL Jumbo. Went into the Giro d'Italia with a fractured rib and had to pull out in the last week, but he's shown no signs of weakness. Simon Spilak in the red just behind for Katusha. Caruso's in there with the red-black helmet on for BMC. 2 riders in there for AG2R are Matthias Frank and Pozzovivo, and it looks like Marc Soler is in there for Movistar.
So the damage is considerable, and riders scrambling to get back in as the gradient eases ever so slightly. Pozzovivo goes for one on the right-hand side of the road. AG Tour Le Mondial have the numbers. Inside 5 kilometres to go to the completion of stage 4 of Tour de Suisse, and it is indeed Domenico Pozzovivo. Well, he looked in flying form yesterday, attacked in the finale of what was a race of a very different characteristic, but he's clearly come out of the Giro d'Italia in fine form and spoiling for more fighting.
Yeah, next 2 kilometres 7.9 and 8.4, so very difficult at this stage with it split into pieces. Last year's winner starting to struggle a little bit as well, doesn't have the same form, but then again he doesn't have the racing days of many of the other riders. But Pozzovivo could be saving the day and winning for the 4th time here in Villers-sur-Olon for Italy.
Well, it's still a pretty good effort by Miguel Angel Lopez, considering how little racing he's done this year. He's not too far off the back of this group, and Matthias Frank it is for AG Tour Le Mondial, the Austrian rider just sitting at the back of this group. Soler in front of him for Team Movistar. Nick van der Leijken, after his breakaway heroics, is going to be mopped up by the breakaway group. Pozzovivo leading the charge. What sort of an advantage has he got on the rest? Pozzovivo in the white and brown shorts of the AG Tour Le Mondial squad. Spilak is being allowed to set the tempo on the front of what's left of the favourites group. Miguel Angel Lopez hasn't given this one up yet either, has he? It looks like Eno for the Team Sky squad just behind Spilak. And Rui Costa pushing hard behind to try and limit his losses, and this group is cracking up considerably. They're down to groups of 1, 2, no more than 4 riders together on the hill. Pello Bilbao, the Spaniard with the Astana squad, is resisting for as long as he possibly can. Conrad for the Bora Hansgrohe squad. Is it Nieve that for Team Sky, we believe, who could well be the interloper, is not too far behind the 4 riders that are chasing this man. And this is Domenico Pozzovivo. He's the 2nd rider in the race. Still Larry Warbasse from the early break perseveres out front. His advantage now just a little bit over 1 minute and 10 seconds. It's Domenico Pozzovivo that is chasing him down, and he's settling into that rhythm, and it's going to be a difficult job to close it down. He's gone from a long way out.
Yeah, and I think he has to. I think he wants to try and win the stage, and we're starting to attack each other, but he only has about 50 metres with Steven Kruijswijk and Spilak doing turn for turn at the front. Caruso for BMC kind of hanging on a little bit. Marcel Laird there for Movistar. But I don't think this is a ploy to try and help Matthias Frank, because I think Matthias Frank is kind of hanging on to the group just behind.
Well, Frank, the Swiss rider, will he be in any position to attack should Domenico Pozzovivo be caught? Well, at the moment, that looks less than likely, but Spilak continuing to press on. And this is a brave effort by Simon Spilak, winner of this race 2 years ago. The Slovakian rider always brings his top game to Tour de Suisse, indeed to Swiss races in general. Soler looks as if he's suffering a little bit. Matthias Frank has now moved ahead of both Soler and Stefan Kruijswijk. Kruijswijk for Team Lotto in Jumbo in the yellow colours. And we have Matthias Frank and Caruso pedaling a much bigger gear.
Yeah, I think he's hanging a little bit. Spilak just moved over, tried to get him through, and he said no. There's a lot of riders hanging in. I think Spilak and Kruijswijk are the 2 strongest riders in this group behind, and Spilak will want to accelerate the whole time. We want to try and get rid of the others. It looks as if he's on a fairly good day. 1:15 to the sole rider in front, Warbasse. But it does look as if Spilak coming slowly back to Pozzovivo now. It depends if they keep this going. But with 1 minute 16 seconds, 3 kilometres to go, it's still possible, depending on how hard they ride. But I think Warbasse is hanging on with skin in his teeth now.
Well, if anything, his advantage has increased ever so slightly, as perhaps Domenico Pozzovivo with a slightly shallower gradient realises that those riders are coming back up to him. Simon Spilak did pretty much all that work, didn't he? The rider for the Katusha squad then slots in. Caruso goes onto the wheel of Domenico Pozzovivo, and Larry Warbasse continues to endure. Another few seconds shaved off his advantage. Inside 3 kilometres to go. Is there any way that the American could hang on for a famous victory? What a famous victory indeed it would be for Team Aqua Blue Sport. He has surely put himself into a position for a very strong finish. Can it be the best finish of all? He's going to maximum focus, total concentration now as Spilak goes on the attack and realises that he has a lot of those riders into trouble and into great difficulty. And as you had spotted, Brian, it's Kruijswijk that is probably the best of the riders among that group and is comfortably onto the wheel of Spilak.
Yeah, these are the 2 strongest riders in the break. Unfortunately for Pozzovivo, he's already put out a lot of energy, but could possibly try and come across. Caruso's coming, but Soler and Frank kind of hanging on the back there. But they have to keep up these accelerations. If they start messing around there, then the favour goes to Warbasse. He just has to concentrate. He's not far in front. He just has to keep on concentrating, keep on pedalling at his tempo, and just think of trying to stay away and take a famous win here in the Tour de Suisse for Aqua Bleu. But these riders have got him in their sights and they want to bring him back, but he's still slightly out of sight just round the corner at the moment.
Well, 80 to 20 kilometres an hour up a hill of this this gradient is impressive stuff. Take nothing away from them, these guys are absolutely flying. And Domenico Pozzovivo attacking earlier on, chased down, and then having to force his way back into this group after the attack from Simon Spilak. Now finds himself on the front. perhaps feeling like his ears are burning a little bit, and I think there's going to be another attack very shortly. Where's it going to come from? Kruijswijk seemed very comfortable as he went back onto the wheel of Simon Spilak on the last attack. Matthias Frank suffered a little bit. Caruso winched that big gear and was first man back to those two that went clear. Into 2.3 kilometres remaining now, and still just over a minute advantage. It's touch and go whether Larry Warbasse can hang on. They're almost in the same camera shot. The gradient, of course, means that the actual distance on the road is, and here comes Spilak. Spilak goes for another attack. He's full of fight today, the former champion. Pozzovivo covers this one with relative ease. A little bit of shadow boxing going on in these hills. Those little attacks will be hurting, but they're not absolutely full bore. Here's a full bore one. Here comes Matthias Frank. That will give the local crowd something to cheer for. Could be good news for Domenico Pozzovivo. Bit of a surprise move, but Frank is an attacking rider. He likes to push on, and he's pushing on for glory on Villars-sur-Alon. On stage 4, he's got some daylight. Spilak again finds himself in position to cover this one. And what about Miguel Angel Lopez, the defending champion? He came into this race with so little racing, but now has managed to, I think as a result of those stalls and his great rear guard effort, has got himself in position perhaps to close up into that group, at least for a little while. Just over 2 kilometres to go.
I think we have to start concentrating on the fact that Larry Warbasse from the USA, riding for the Irish team Aqua Blue Sport, could be writing himself into the history books now and taking the biggest victory of Aqua Blue, because I believe now that they're starting to look at each other. Matthias Frank has been hanging on in this climb, and I think the impetus is out of this group behind, and I believe that Larry Warbasse could be winning this stage today.
Well, the gap has come down inside a minute for the first time. There's merely 2 kilometres remaining, but remember, those final 2 kilometres are pretty treacherous. There's well, it's a brief, shallow section of around about 5%, and then it grips up again to over 7%. And Frank is putting himself into contention for overall success in this race. Will he be putting himself into contention for stage honours? The Swiss rider presses on from AG Tour Le Mondial. It's Spilak that sets the tempo on the front of what remains of the favourites group, and the other riders not willing to counter. Domenico Pozzovivo will watch with interest as his AG Tour Le Mondial teammate puts himself into a position for glory. Meanwhile, Larry Warbasse presses on up front. 1,700 metres remaining, and Lopez has not quite managed to get in there, and I think the effort of just getting himself into the wheel, and now they're starting to reset the tempo up front, and Lopez has been distanced again.
Well, Lopez has ridden himself into contention now. He came into this race really unknown. He'd only 1 day of racing at this level beforehand, so if he can hang in there, he could come good in this race. Matthias Frank is kind of hanging on a little bit on this climb. Now everybody's tired. It's how much Larry Warbasse has got on his legs. You can just see him, he's starting to kind of be a little bit jerky in the pedals now. He knows he's within sight of possibly his first pro win. He's never won any pro race at this level. He's had a 7th in the GC8 Tour of Poland, 8th in the GC8 Tour of Norway, but this would be by far the best win of his career after a third on a stage in 2014 in this particular race.
Ex-BMC rider, a team time trial success, the only win on his palmarès. No solo victories, 49 seconds with 1,300 metres remaining. This is by no means a foregone conclusion. Can he possibly hang on? Can Miguel Angel Lopez possibly get back up to that group? If he does, I think it'll be instructive about the tempo that they're setting at the moment. 50 seconds for Warbasse as he continues to try and hang on for glory. He's under the kite. The final 1,000 metres for what would be a famous victory from the breakaway. For Team Aqua Blue Sport, they seem to have been in pretty much every breakaway for every race that they've been in all year. They've really shown the jersey well. Can they show it to the ultimate way with a victory today? Matthias Frank would give the local crowd something to cheer for should he survive. Hang on for second, but they really want that win, and Frank is an accomplished climber with AG Tour Le Mondial. Always brings his A game to Switzerland, and he's chasing down and now almost under the kite himself. He has the American in his sights. Can he possibly find the strength to get back on terms?
I think it's over for Frank and this group behind. I think they're a little bit spent now. They've been attacking each other and looking at each other. and finessing a little bit. Marc Soler is starting to find it difficult. I don't think Matthias Frank will be able to come back to Ward-Bass. Ward-Bass is on the last kilometre, averages 6.9%, but he turns left with 300 metres to go. It kind of kicks up towards the finishing line. I think this American, riding for an Irish team, has this in the bag.
Yep. Larry Warbasse, a 26-year-old from Dearborn in Michigan, hangs the arms over the barriers and suffers like he's never suffered before. You know what this means to him. He's had a career in the World Tour with BMC, with EAM Cycling. He's now at Pro Continental level, still to get that first glorious victory, and a glorious victory at World Tour level it would be, should he hang on today. The big win is on offer. Can they possibly hang on? Well, Matthias Frank, he's going to try and break his heart. Inside 300 metres to go. Surely he's done enough. Larry Warbasse makes the left turn here, and this is a cruel last few hundred metres, but he knows he has what he needs in hand, and Larry Warbasse will be cheered to the rafters by this large crowd assembled here at the finish at Villars-sur-Olon. He comes inside the final 150 metres. He's been out front since the outset of the day. 3 breakaway companions wilted in the sunshine, but up the climbs on the first day of climbing in Tour de Suisse 2017, it's Larry Warbasse of Team Aqua Blue Sport that's going to survive to take a famous victory on Tour de Suisse. He's had a third in the past, but now the winner of stage 4 of Tour de Suisse is Larry Warbasse, and look what that means to him. Warbasse can hardly believe it. He has emptied the tank and he has got the win that he required inside the final 300 metres, and Frank has been retained. The attack is going to come now. Is it from Pozzovivo? Frank has been dragged back. Spilak has done so much of the work in the red on the right hand side of shot, and Spilak goes to the front once more. Caruso tries to endure. Kruijswijk on the wheel in 4th position, heading to his 4th on the line, but Spilak into the final 75 metres has done so much of the chasing, shown himself to be one of the strongest. Here comes Kruijswijk. Caruso in the centre of shot. Caruso is going to get 2nd on the line. Kruijswijk in 3rd, Spilak in 4th. Few seconds put into Pozzovivo and Matthias Frank. What a brave effort from him as he puts himself into a great position for overall honours in this race. But well, no doubt about the man that got the victory. A superb win for Larry Warbasse.
Oh, a spectacular win. I'm so happy for the team as well. As you said, they've been in every breakaway, they've tried for everything. They had the Mountains jersey at the start of today. I believe they'll retain that Mountains jersey, but it was a huge win. But this man here, Caruso, they lost the jersey yesterday. BMC have got it back today. This is the man they've got it with, Damiano Caruso, as Naevi crosses the finishing line for Team Sky. What a magnificent day and a famous day for this man here. 3rd in a stage of this race in 2014. Now a winner for a 2nd division Irish team.
Now Larry Warbasse can now smile. It's a grimace for Roy Costa. Finds himself distanced and not on top form. The former world champion and 3-time winner of this race. The riders continuing to come in. The gap at the conclusion, Caruso was 40 seconds behind Larry Warbasse, and in the company of Steven Kruijswijk and Simon Spilak. Caruso taking useful bonus seconds for 2nd on the line. Pozzovivo 4 seconds further back from the riders from what you might call the favourites group. Now Warbasse has to learn the victory protocol.
Well, it was setting itself up for an Italian victory here. 3 Italians have won in the history when we finished here, but this is the first American win. This is his first pro win of his career. He's been with many teams in the past, including BMC. We started with BMC 2 years with IAM, and he gets to drop down a division, rides for an Irish team full of heart and racing, and they get their just rewards today.
He can barely believe it. He's just hanging the crash out, and I wonder how many times he's practiced that victory salute out training. Finally he gets to use it for real. Finally, sweet relief for Larry Warbasse. Well, he's in the hot seat. It's particularly hot today, I can tell you. It's been in the sunshine. Let's see. Riders continuing to stream in after what's been a punishing day in the saddle, over 150 kilometres. So there you have it, confirmation of the finishing order at the conclusion of Stage 4. Larry Warbasse gets his first and his team's first professional victory. Damiano Caruso up for second place ahead of Kruijswijk, Simon Spilak in that group as well. Pozzovivo loses a few seconds in the final sprint. Tess Frank, brave effort, has to make do with sixth and leading Swiss rider Marc Soler. Miguel Angel Lopez also well to the fore. The riders are going to be coming in for quite some considerable length of time. And we'll be waiting quite a while for Michael Matthews, the erstwhile yellow jersey holder. There's going to be a movement there. Damiano Caruso has raced himself into yellow for Team BMC. That will be 3 yellow jerseys out of 4. Here's the final sprint amongst the favourites, with Spilak launching from 150 metres to go. Well, that's one thing on a flat road, but on a rising climb to the finish, it's a long, long way to stay out front. Caruso timed his final move to perfection. Kruijswijk couldn't quite get there, but still bagged himself for some very useful bonus seconds. And that's been quite instructive, I think, about the riders that are in good form heading into our other 2 mountain climbs to come. We've got a time trial to conclude this event next Sunday. The group of favourites now has been established.
Yeah, but the race is far from over. We've still got some big mountains to climb. This was just the first of many climbs in this year's Tour de Suisse. BMC losing the jersey yesterday, but getting it back today with Caruso. They're going to back Caruso. TJ Van Garderen rode for him on this climb to try and take that jersey, and he was able to do that courtesy of the bonus seconds at the finish.
Well, there you have it, the provisional overall classification, with Damiano Caruso 15 seconds clear of Steven Kruijswijk, with Domenico Pozzovivo sitting third overall. Simon Spilak, great work from him as well, level with Pozzovivo, and Marc Soler has moved up into a nice 5th place position for Team Movistar in Spain. So I believe we've caught up with Larry Warbasse. Famous win for himself and Aqua Blue Sport.
Laurens Warbasse, it was the greatest victory in your career, and it was a very crazy raid. How was it for you?
Yeah, the first victory in my career, so it's amazing, you know. I love this race. I love the Tour de Suisse. I love Switzerland. I was on EM cycling the last 2 years, and I mean, it's one of the most beautiful countries, and I have so many great memories here. today I felt like it was my home race. I've never had so many people cheering for me. The people driving the VIP cars on the side of the road, everyone was yelling my name, and I'm really happy.
When did you think the first time that you can win?
As soon as I got in the breakaway. I told everyone yesterday, I worked really hard the whole season, and I'm sorry. Sorry. I always give 110%, and I'm just so happy that it finally paid off.
Thank you very much. Congrats.
Well, that's what it means.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great. It's just great.
And that is a genuine expression of joy through tears by Larry Warbasse. All those years of toil and suffering, much of it in the service of others. Larry Warbasse finally gets the win. Well, here he comes for the first time in his career. He's controlled his emotion after that wonderful interview, wasn't it? And Larry Warbasse has taken victory on the 4th stage of Tour de Suisse. Watershed moment in his career. He loves Switzerland, he always did, now he loves it even more. He's done Rick Delaney, Timmy Barry and all the Cork Mafia in the Aqua Blue Sports squad. He's proud today, hasn't he? And that team head to Vuelta a España later this year. It's been a great start to their position in world cycling. So Larry Warbasse clear by 40 seconds at the conclusion of a great day's effort in the breakaway. Tamiana Caruso from the group of favourites, just besting Kruijswijk and Spilak. Pozzovivo, Frank, Soler, Miguel Angel Lopez are all still very much in contention, as is Mikel Nieve and Rui Costa. Tough day for him, a minute and a half down at the end. So we wait the appearance of the new Maillot Jaune, the new leader on overall classification in Tour de Suisse 2017. It's Damiana Caruso, the 29-year-old Italian with Team BMC, who's moved into the lead. 15 seconds his advantage. Now he gets to don the famous yellow jersey. 8th overall in Giro d'Italia back in 2015. He is a fine stage racer. Right from the breakaway, are in the group of favourites and has put himself into a fine position now. Can he defend? Tomorrow's stage should be within the compass of his squad to control, but a couple of tough mountain summits after that. Damiana Caruso, the overall leader of Tour de Suisse, heading into stage 5. And there's confirmation of the standings. 15 seconds Caruso's advantage over Stefan Kruijswijk. Domenico Pozzovivo at 24 seconds, along with Simon Spilak. Marc Soler, Matthias Frank are also handily placed within half a minute. Mikel Nieve has a little more to do, as indeed has Rui Costa, 8th overall now after a 10th place finish today. Valerio Conti, good finish from him as well. The UAE Team Emirates rider. Miguel Angel Lopez, 10th on general classification on his defence of his 2016 title. So what a great attempt it was to win the stage, and didn't quite come up for Matthias Frank, but he does at least have the excellent consolation of being the leading Swiss rider in the Tour de Suisse, heading into stage 5, climbed to 6th place on the day, the AG Tour Le Mondial man, best placed local rider. Brian Cookson, the president of the UCI, it is that presents Matthias Frank with his red jersey. It's the bouquet high. Frank now with a 1 minute and 48 second advantage over Steve Morabito. Michael Scher is in and calculated. He's 8 minutes and 47 seconds back. So Frank, very handy advantage now in the race for that red jersey. Been a great day of racing, hasn't it, in Tour de Suisse. Now we know who the group of favourites are. Let's remind ourselves now of some of the highlights.
Alors, mesdames, messieurs, je vous rappelle que demain, le départ, c'est du côté de B sur le coup d'11h30. Il y a tout le village d'animation au départ de cette étape. On vous invite à vous rendre à B demain. Départ et présentation des coureurs à partir de 10h30. Départ à 11h30. Et on peut applaudir chaque coureur qui passe la ligne parce que la journée était... Voilà, nous allons pouvoir passer à la premiation du classement au point patronné par search.ch et ce maillot revient sur les épaules du coureur du team Sunweb.
So Michael Matthews, tough day, and he cedes his yellow jersey, but the Aussie gets a stage win and retains the lead of the points competition into stage 5. Resigned to his fate from early on today. Always knew that that was going to be a bridge too far, that final climb to Villars-sur-Olon, but it's been a very successful week. Second victory on the stage in Tour de Suisse yesterday, and no movement in the points competition. Not as happy, isn't he? Because he's going to celebrate with Larry Warbasse, a great victory on the stage. And the celebrations all around. Larry Warbasse celebrates with Conor Dunn, and also with the leader of the climbing competition, Lasse Norman Hansen. So Michael Matthews confirmed as leader of the points. Narrowest of margin, level on points now with Damiano Caruso. Matthews has that stage win. Larry Warbasse, just a point off the lead of the points competition. Riders from the break yesterday, Nick Dougal, and the riders from the breakaway, well mixed in amongst the riders who are contending for the stage success, and that's due to the way they've weighted the points competition towards those intermediate sprints out on the road. For a very interesting and entertaining scrap for that black jersey, doesn't it?
Voilà le camion balai qui franchit la ligne en sens inverse, mesdames, messieurs. Eh bien, vous voyez le vainqueur d'étape, Lorenz Werbas, tout de bleu vêtu. On peut lui faire un immense bravo depuis l'espace VIP, le vainqueur de cette étape du jour. Et nous allons passer au dernier maillot attribué, le classement de la montagne, patronné par Engadine Saint-Moritz et Pir Hae. Mesdames, messieurs, une ovation pour Norman Lasse Hansen, le coureur de cette formation Aqua Blue Sport.
Well, what a day for Team Aqua Blue Sport, because not only have they got stage honours, but they continue to lead the mountains classification, courtesy of the young Dane Lasse Norman Hansen. In the break twice this week, and he's mopped up enough points, and hangs on to that lead by the narrowest of margins. The leader of the King of the Mountains in Tour de Suisse 2017 is the Danish rider Lasse Norman Hansen.
Le trophée à Lasse Norman Hansen, le coureur de l'équipe Aqua Blue Sport, leader du classement de la montagne.
Not sure if there are Viking horns on that trophy, but suffice it to say, they're gratefully received by the man who has just that narrow lead now. Nick van der Leijke, maximum points on the first hill of the day, takes him to within a point of Lasse Norman Hansen, who hangs on by the skin of his teeth. Larry Warbass now up to third, so it's first and third for the Team Aqua Blue Sport riders, and then Damiano Caruso, first of the GC contenders in the King of the Mountains competition. They'll move up the order as the week progresses. So tomorrow it is an altogether more straightforward affair for the riders, the GC riders, but it is the longest road stage of the week, fully 222 kilometers, racing through the valleys across the Or category Simplon Pass. Well, that's comes a long way from the finish, so it could offer the opportunity for the riders that suffer there to get back into contention. Remains to be seen, though. Got a couple of intermediate sprints towards the conclusion in Chevio. Just 2 classified climbs along the way. Can it be one perhaps for the breakaway? 2 days in succession. We'll find out on stage 5 of Tour de Suisse 2017.